Part 80. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 795. Wang Ling, don't be rude, salute quickly. The other infantrymen did not dare to speak or move in front of Yuri, but Yuri X was relatively free and had enough right to speak. After the ceremony, he hurriedly scolded Wang Ling in a low voice. However, Wang Ling didn't buy it at all. He just crossed his arms and looked impatient. "Tch, I'm not happy. Yuri. Ha ha ha. Only Yuri smiled very casually, and even announced beyond Wang Ling's expectation, special personnel are treated specially. Wang Ling does not need to salute me from now on, he has the qualifications. Wow. Chief, this is not a joke, is it? A group of infantrymen were surprised, and Yuri X also asked in shock. He knew that leader Yuri valued Wang Ling very much, but he didn't expect that he valued Wang Ling to such an extent that he didn't even need to salute. Not to mention them, Wang Ling was very surprised. No, you, an old man, are so open-minded. Old man? The infantrymen twitched their lips fiercely when they heard this title, and Yuri X was also very embarrassed. But leader Yuri didn't mind, and said with a smile, "Of course, you are not joking. However, in the entire Seoul Empire, you are the only one who has this kind of treatment. Others will inevitably be unconvinced. You still need to use your hard power. Come convince others." This time, it was Wang Ling's turn to laugh. Haha, that's interesting. Hard power is not simple. How about killing half of this group of infantry to establish a prestige? The faces of many infantrymen suddenly changed, and they stared at Wang Ling fiercely, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. This time, even Yuri was choked by him. This won't work. You're not trying to establish your authority, you're just fooling around. When he said this, 3 Get tanks and 2 tornado tanks happened to be patrolling not far away. After Yuri saw it, he immediately had an idea. Those tanks. Da-da-da-da-da. Boom boom boom. Boom boom. However, before he could finish his words, Wang Ling suddenly transformed into an elite combat soldier. He picked up the AK rifle strengthened by the King of Soldiers and started shooting. Almost in a flash, all 5 tanks exploded. Many soldiers, not even Yuri X and Yuri leader, could react. The provocative infantrymen before were all dumbfounded. 5 tanks, even if they were besieging them, it would take some time to explode them all, but Wang Ling, just one person, could do it almost in a flash. What kind of firepower does this girl have? Yuri exploded. Wang Ling put the gun on his shoulder and spat, "If you didn't tell me earlier, I would have killed him easily. Have you given me time to finish?" Leader Yuri was on the verge of tears. It was finally his turn to taste the embarrassment that Yuri X was accustomed to before. Across. Buzz buzz. While he was talking, all the infantry and tanks patrolling or on duty around him gathered around him. The 5 tanks that had just exploded suddenly shocked them. However, when they got closer and saw leader Yuri, everyone was stunned for a moment, and then they quickly performed military salutes, and even the tanks shook their barrels slightly. Wang Ling shrugged his shoulders and was too lazy to answer him. Seeing his cynical look, leader Yuri finally realized how helpless Yuri. The troops turned around and said, "That's all, it's just 5 tanks. Compared with your combat effectiveness, it's not worth mentioning. Now, does anyone still have any doubts?" "No more, Chief." A group of infantrymen hurriedly answered in unison. This group of people, not only because of Yuri's majesty, but also by Wang Ling's sudden burst of fighting power, knew that what Yuri X said before was not an exaggeration. "Since there is no such thing, let's disband and do whatever you have to do. Wang Ling, X, you come with me." A farce ended here. The group of infantrymen were casually dismissed. After Yuri said hello, he turned around and walked towards the palace. Wang Ling didn't refuse anything. Together with Yuri X, he followed naturally, and the journey was smooth, and finally entered the palace. This palace looks somewhat like a modern Western Gothic building, white and yellow, magnificent. The interior of the palace is also divided into many rooms. There is a large hall in the center, which is perfectly inlaid with lavender smooth floor tiles. 4 huge columns seem to hold up the entire hall, and various complex things appear on it. Of engraving. In the middle and rear of the hall, there is a huge bone chair, which is also carved with various complex patterns. After arriving in the hall, Yuri naturally sat on the bone chair, seeming to swear the majesty of his king. In the hall, there were 6 officer-level members of the psychic force waiting. After Yuri was in place, they performed a military salute with Yuri X. Wang Ling was still there, and there was no reaction. However, this group of officers' psychic troops were not as aggressive as other infantry. However, after the military salute, a general smiled at Wang Ling and said, "After so much effort, we finally got it. You are in control. The Mind Empire welcomes you to join." The general's original intention was indeed to welcome you, but these words seemed to remind Wang Ling of something. Wang Ling, who was originally relatively calm, suddenly became dissatisfied. "If you didn't tell me, I almost forgot to pursue this matter. You guys. These people are so courageous, they even dare to plot against me. Do you think I'm easy to bully?" The 6 generals glanced at each other, but smiled inexplicably and did not answer. Instead, Yuri explained, "If you are as easy to bully as you say, is there any point for us to plot against you? Not everyone is qualified and worthy of such a plot." Wang Ling crossed his arms and just stared at Yuri without answering anything. But Yuri was still explaining, "Ever since I was an undercover agent in the coalition forces, when I first saw you, I felt that you have a very special mental structure. I thought about recruiting you, but you rejected me. At that time, it's not worthy of my too much attention, so I didn't force you to do anything. But I didn't expect that you would become stronger and stronger. Not only did you smash my plan with one hand, but you even gradually became a powerful nemesis of my spiritual empire. The base commander specially sent your video during the battle, so be careful of your threats." Yuri did not elaborate on the rest. Instead, one of the generals explained on his behalf, "For you, we have held many meetings. Many people have proposed to send out suicide squads to eliminate you in advance. However, in the end, it is still the leader loves CAI so much that he did not make this decision. Instead of destroying you, it would be better for me to use you. So we did not hesitate to spend huge costs and efforts to find the right time and place to design and control you. To be honest, I followed the leader. This is the first time in many years that I have seen him value an outsider so highly." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 796. Tisk Tisk. According to you, it is my honor to be controlled by your design. Wang Ling felt a little baffled after hearing these explanations. When the other generals heard this, they were about to confirm it, but unexpectedly Wang Ling added, "Do you want to lose face?" Good guy. These words caught the 6 generals present a little off guard, and the smiles on their faces instantly froze. Based on their status, they naturally knew that in order to maintain Wang Ling's strongest fighting power, leader Yuri did not suppress his personality, but instead strengthened his dark character. However, they did not expect that the darkened Wang Ling would be so rude in his words. Not to mention that this was in front of leader Yuri. Weren't the 6 generals and the heroic unit Yuri X enough to scare him? The 6 generals were speechless, and Yuri was quite dumbfounded. Only Yuri. After the other generals were embarrassed for a while, "Yuri, can you show a little more respect to the leader and to us?" Okay, Wang Ling spread his hands. Yuri X's words really made sense to him. After turning into a black man, Wang Ling's personality was too strong, but he also knew the principle of mutual respect. After saying that, Wang Lingke asked Yuri again, "It feels awkward to call you chief, and it's too presumptuous to call you old man, so let's compromise and call you chief. I heard from X, this it's your clone, where is your original body?" Yuri smiled and said, "This is the Russian branch, and I am naturally at the headquarters. In the future, if your military exploits have accumulated to a certain level, you will naturally have the opportunity to enter the headquarters and meet me. However, don't underestimate the clone. My abilities are almost the same as mine, and my status is almost the same. I even have a somewhat clear mind. Facing me is not much different from facing me. Is that so?" Although Wang Ling had a minimum of respect for Yuri, he had no limitations at all. He still crossed his arms and even raised his chin. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Speaking of clones, I'm a little curious, since I have mastered the copying technology and can copy on a large scale, and even the clone has similar abilities to the original, wouldn't the empire of the mind be invincible?" "Haha, your idea is very interesting." Yuri was very patient with Wang Ling and replied playfully, "However, you still think too much. Although the Soul Empire has a copy center, it can copy all infantry, even general, there are limits to this. Each person can only copy once. If we can copy infinitely, do we still need to fight with huge sacrifices? The human C tactic can crush any enemy to death. If you think about it carefully, it really makes sense. Although the world of Red Alert is different from reality and somewhat different from the game, it still abides by the rules. If copying can be carried out infinitely, this world will be in chaos." While Wang Ling was thinking about this problem, Yuri suddenly said, "Including you, it can only be copied once. However, with your combat power, even if you only copy it once, it will have a huge impact on my spiritual empire. Influence." Oh. When Wang Ling heard this, his eyes instantly became sharp, he snorted coldly, and threatened, "Sir, I advise you to give up the idea of copying me. There can only be one me in the world. One more will destroy the whole world. The balance of the world. Because my identity is more special than you think." Wang Ling is indeed under control now, but he still remembers his player identity very clearly. The entire world was created for him by the system. If he, the player, were to be copied again in the Red Alert world, it would be difficult to imagine this. How the world will be affected by this move. Not only that, with Wang Ling's mentality, he would never allow a second him to appear in this world. Everyone present, including Yuri. "Why? What makes your identity special?" "For this reason," a general asked specifically. Wang Ling did not specify his identity as a player, but replied gloomily, "I am the driving force behind the existence of this entire world. Once I die in this world, this entire world will also be destroyed." This kind of answer made the monk, who was stunned by everyone present, confused. However, when Wang Ling was asked again, he refused to say anything clearly. "That's it, leader, we have been on the road for more than a day. There are still 3 enemy bases in Mater New City that are eyeing the psychic beacon. Things will change if they are delayed. Let's start quickly." Seeing that the conversation has reached a deadlock, Yuri just mentioned something. Yuri nodded in agreement, and the other generals also got ready, while Wang Ling asked curiously, "What to start?" A general replied, "Transfer your control, through the psychic beacon, to the leader for personal control." Transfer control? Is there such an operation? "Aren't you afraid that I will suddenly lose control after failure?" Wang Ling said playfully. Another general stood up and replied calmly, "I'm afraid, because I have never done anything like this before, and the leader himself can't do it, so there are 6 of us to assist him." "Is that so?" Wang Ling muttered something to himself, and then stopped talking. To be honest, since he was controlled and surrendered to the Mind Empire, it didn't make any sense what was controlling him. Wang Ling didn't want to dwell on it, as long as he didn't mess with him. For this reason, he did not resist anything and stood calmly with his arms folded. After all the generals were in place, Yuri took action himself and stood in front of Wang Ling. He placed one hand on his eyebrows and the other on between Wang Ling's brows. The 6 generals then began a ritual similar to chanting. At #UN%. At #UN%. These chants were like ancient spells, mysterious and difficult to understand, and Wang Ling could not understand a single word. But it didn't make any sense if he didn't understand it, so he simply settled down and waited silently. At #UN%. At #UN%. The chanting continued, and the demonic voice was invisibly inducing Wang Ling's soul for a long, long time. For how long, Wang Ling no longer had any idea. Under the chanting, his brain gradually became trance-like. When he regained consciousness, the ceremony ended. And his control has fallen into Yuri's hands, and an obvious spiritual connection has been established between the eyebrows of Yuri and Wang Ling. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 797. General, something bad happened. We are still too late. The connection between the psychic beacon and Wang Ling is gone. I'm afraid Wang Ling's control has been transferred. What? At the moment when Wang Ling's control was transferred to Yuri, the psychic beacon in Maidnu City also changed accordingly. As a coalition force that had been observing, Zhao Pingwang discovered this change almost immediately. He hurriedly called General Li Wiki. General Li Wiki was also startled by such a shout. He hurriedly rushed to the electronic video and pointed at the psychic beacon. Sure enough, the line connecting Wang Ling was missing. Damn. It's too late. For this reason, General Li Wiki felt annoyed in his heart, and almost cursed through gritted teeth. Damn the Mind Empire. Damn Yuri. These bastards. Even Rovitsky looked sad. It's only half a day. At most, our offensive troops will be ready in half a day. The Seoul Empire didn't even give us half a day. General, how can we what to do? The problem was thrown to General Li Wiki, but did he have any good ideas? He scratched his hair in distress, and after a long time he sighed leisurely, forget it. I don't know how long it took and how much thought the Seoul Empire spent on plotting against Wang Ling. How could it be so easy to get it back? Now Wang Ling it has been completely transferred, and there is nothing we can do. We can only pray for Wang Ling that nothing will happen to him. General, with Wang Ling's combat prowess, the possibility of something happening to him should be very small. On the contrary, we are dangerously close when facing Wang Ling's firepower. In my opinion, what we should pray for may be the possibility of fighting with Wang Ling in the future. When Wang Ling meets, he can still miss his old love. Zhao Pingwang corrected him bitterly. And this sentence made General Li Wiki and Rovaki fall silent. Wang Ling. Damn the Empire of Mind, I can't spare you. Equally upset was Agent Tanya from the Allied forces. This girl discovered the change in the spiritual beacon almost immediately. Knowing that Wang Ling's control was transferred, the chance to rescue Wang Ling was far away, and hatred instantly covered the entire spiritual empire. However, the 2 deputies beside her no longer had the same intention. One of them was even asking, Sir, the chance of rescuing Wang Ling is slim now. So when our allies see Wang Ling in the future, can they kill him directly, him? Agent Tanya immediately stared back, kill him? Who can do it? We will be lucky if he doesn't kill him by then. This bastard Reagan has done a lot of harm to our allies. Has it been transferred? In the Maidnu City war zone, the coalition and allied forces were upset, but in the Russian branch of the Seoul Empire, Wang Ling, the person involved, had no idea. After opening his eyes, he saw the connection between his eyebrows and Yuri's, which was quite strange. Curious, there's nothing special about this, I just felt confused for a while. Hearing what he said, the other 6 tired generals suddenly became ashamed. One of them breathed heavily and reprimanded, "You don't feel anything, but do you know how much effort we expended in transferring control?" Wang Ling disagreed, and even said sarcastically, "You don't need to expend this effort. After the spiritual beacon in Mater New City is destroyed, you can see what the consequences will be. You. Ha ha ha." Even though Wang Ling was controlled and looked domineering, this guy had a very clear idea of the overall situation in his heart. He knew the contradictions of the matter early on, but he just didn't point them out. The other generals were choked by him, and their faces turned ugly for a moment, but Yuri suddenly laughed and interrupted, "Wang Ling is right, by transferring control, the risk is minimized. For this reason, all the hard work is worth it." "Yes, leader," Yuri said so, and the 6 generals had nothing to complain about. Then Yuri said to Wang Ling, "Originally, it was difficult for the Seoul Empire to resist the combined forces of the Allies and the Allied forces alone, and it was at a disadvantage everywhere. But now, with your joining, all the disadvantages will be overcome. Come back. From now on, you will be the sharp sword of the Empire of the Soul. And since you are a sharp blade, you must take it out of its sheath and kill the enemy to rectify the glory of my Empire of Soul and accelerate my desire to rule the world. Go and rest first. In 2 days, X will lead you to the Pingxi war zone to join the battle. I know, it's boring to be idle all the time anyway. It's better to go and do some activities." Wang Ling still looked carefree, showing no etiquette at all. But Yuri didn't care. With a wave of his hand, 2 Yuri recruits entered the hall and introduced Wang Ling into a house in the palace. This palace is indeed a symbol of the identity of the Russian branch. Those who can live here are all high-ranking generals of the Seoul Empire. Wang Ling has this right just after he arrived, which shows how much Yuri values him. After Wang Ling left, Yuri he is ridiculously strong, but the way we control him has also turned him into a double-edged sword. His personality is too prominent and he easily disobeys some key orders. He even has his own bottom line to force him to do something like killing his previous subordinates could easily cause him to resist and point his gun at us. So, leader, we have to guard against this." The other 6 generals also nodded. They only spent a short time with Wang Ling, but in such a short period of time, they were choked by Wang Ling many times, and they all had a certain understanding of Wang Ling's domineering and cunning nature. But Yuri didn't feel strange, and said with a slight smile, "Don't worry, since I have made a decision, I have considered it beforehand. In this state, Wang Ling cannot be forced to do anything, and the orders given cannot be it needs to be told according to his way of thinking, in other words, it is smooth. Although the double-edged sword is dangerous, but used properly, it can be of great help to us. We want to realize our great wish to control the world, which is very important. We need Wang Ling's help. The leader is already prepared." "That's great. I was worrying too much." Yuri X finally regained his composure. Now that Wang Ling has successfully arrived at the Russian branch and the handover of control has been completed, these generals and Yuri exclusive room in the palace. But after they left, Yuri kept sitting on the bone chair, tapping the armrest with his fingers from time to time. After being stunned for a while, he smiled confidently, "Do you want to lick your hair? Haha, at this stage, let's do it first. I'll let you run wild for a while. After the transformation plan is completed, the gods will not be able to save you. When the time comes, I will ask you to go east, but you must not go west." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 798. Originally I thought Yuri was quite sinister, but I didn't expect him to be so open-minded. Will you spare me the military salute? Yuri's sinister ambition was not revealed to Wang Ling, and he pretended to be very natural. Wang Ling's time with him was too short, and he changed his position because he was controlled. Naturally, he didn't notice anything was wrong with Yuri. He lay on the soft floor of the room, enjoying and sighing at the same time. It is currently unknown what the renovation plan mentioned by Yuri is. At least it has not yet started at this stage. Wang Ling maintained his current mentality and rested peacefully. When he first arrived at the Ruishan branch, Wang Ling didn't know much about everything here. Fortunately, Yuri didn't send him out immediately. When he woke up early the next morning, Wang Ling, who had nothing to do, went to the Ruishan branch after breakfast. I wandered around the top of Ruishan mountain. Yesterday, the things that Wang Ling caused were really big, and those things had spread throughout the entire Ruishan branch overnight through the more than 100 infantrymen. Now all the infantrymen on the top of Ruishan mountain, everyone already knows that special person number 1 is here. The former heroic unit of the coalition has now been controlled by the Mind Empire, and has become the only infantryman in the entire army who does not have to salute leader Yuri. When this explosive news spread, it really caused an uproar in the entire branch, and one stone stirred up 1,000 waves. Even though the combat experience of the soldiers stationed in this branch is far less than that of the front-line infantry, they are still more arrogant than the others. They always feel that as guards in this place, they are superior to others. With their mentality, when they first heard the news about Wang Ling, everyone was naturally unconvinced. Although no one dared to speak in front of Yuri, who had convinced anyone in private. However, after only 3 seconds, Wang Ling's follow-up news was heard in the message. Almost instantly, 5 tanks were killed effortlessly. This news was so shocking that most of the infantry were stunned, and some stubborn personnel even questioned, is this news an exaggeration? For this reason, these people made special inquiries in various aspects and found out that the news was not exaggerated at all, and even leader Yuri was present. After being confirmed, no matter how arrogant this group of infantrymen were, they had to be cautious. Although they don't have much combat experience, they also know how much firepower it takes to blow up 5 tanks in an instant. Of course, the forest is big and there are all kinds of birds. There are a lot of infantry in the Ruishan branch, and there are always some thorns. Wang Ling is still not convinced, and among these thorns, there are some wild orcs. This mutant warrior has a bad temper and is arrogant, and will not give in easily. Moreover, the news only mentioned Wang Ling's fierce firepower, but did not mention his close combat ability. For this reason, this group of thorny heads discussed in private that they must find an opportunity to repair Wang Ling. No, the opportunity will come soon. Hey, that little man. I heard you are crazy. Wang Ling was walking alone on the top of the mountain. Naturally, he came into contact with many infantrymen. Naturally, he fell into the piercing eyes of the group. As a result, a stupid orc with a green head stepped forward and provoked, "You are a little dwarf, can you avoid military salutes with the leader? I am not convinced. Do you dare to fight with me without using a gun?" Wang Ling was bored when he suddenly heard this and became curious. He stopped and looked up and down at the orc, and said mockingly, "Tisk, tisk, you were pushed out to test the waters, right? You're really cute and stupid." Huh, the wild beastman didn't expect Wang Ling to comment on him like this, and looked at Wang Ling blankly, "What do you mean?" However, Wang Ling didn't bother to talk nonsense to such a small soldier. He clenched his fists and walked up with a sinister smile, "I mean, you are going to be beaten." 1 minute later. Ding. Wang Ling twisted his neck casually, turned around gracefully, and continued walking without any wrinkles in his clothes. But behind him, the wild orc was lying on the ground panting, with a bruised nose and face, and roared, "Who? What bastard spread the news? Who the hell said he only has strong firepower and physical strength? No way. Tens of meters away from him, some thorns that had been lurking had witnessed the whole process, and now their mouths were all open in an O shape, peeping at each other, listening to the roar of the wild orc. In one sentence can't even tell. It's so cute. As for Wang Ling, when he heard the roar while walking, he was a little bit dumbfounded. However, after all, there was a huge difference in status, so he did not take this provocation to heart. After slowly walking away, he forgot about this episode. While walking, Wang Ling came to the spiritual beacon. Looking at this terrifying building, Wang Ling squinted his eyes, and the lightning flashed in his mind, thinking about whether the ultimate device of the Soul Empire was really this kind of thing. Before it was controlled, the Allied forces had speculated that the easiest way for the Psychic Empire to control the world was to conquer the world and build psychic beacons in all areas it passed along the way. Round 20. A spiritual beacon was built in Mater New City, and the Russian branch also saw such a beacon, which seemed to confirm the conjecture of the Allies. What are you thinking about, so absorbed? Just as Wang Ling was thinking about this, Yuri X suddenly appeared not far away and interrupted him. Glancing back at him, Wang Ling didn't hide anything. I was thinking about the ultimate device of the Mind Empire to control the world. Is it this kind of thing? Haha, of course it has something to do with the psychic beacon Yuri. If you go to the headquarters to meet with leader Yuri, then you will know all the plans of my spiritual empire. TCH, I'm too lazy to think about it. Wang Ling was very unimpressed by this answer. He snarled, bypassed the spiritual beacon and continued to wander around. The area at the top of Ruishan Mountain is not small, enough to accommodate 3 Yuri bases, which is more than enough. However, no matter how big it is still atop of the mountain, and there are always restrictions. Wang Ling spent several hours to see almost the entire top of Ruishan Mountain, and he was familiar with the landforms and every minute detail of the topography and roads. Know it in your chest. After that, there was nothing else to do. He didn't bother to contact the soldiers at the bottom, but he taught the mad orcs a lesson, which was regarded as a warning to the monkeys. The other thorns did not provoke any more, and Wang Ling was happy to relax and wander around for a while. Then I went back to the room and continued to rest. After staying like this for 2 days, it was finally time to go to the battlefield. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 799. At present, the Psychic Empire is trying to control the world. Although there are psychic beacons to control civilians on a large scale, the scope of control of such things is limited after all, so war is still inevitable. The bases of the Mind Empire seem to be distributed with no rules at all. For example, the Pingxi war zone that Wang Ling is going to this time can be seen from the electronic map. It is far away from the branch. There is nothing unique about the geographical location. The Mind Empire would send large-scale reinforcements to fight from time to time, which seemed to indicate the importance of this war zone. However, the crazier the Mind Empire becomes, the more the Allied forces block it. Now there are 2 Allied bases and 1 Allied base, firmly rooted in the Pingxi war zone, facing tit for tat with the 3 Yuri bases there, and the war is going on. It's also very sticky. Yuri seemed to be eager to break the stalemate, so he sent Wang Ling's first round of combat here. Because of the long distance, Wang Ling and Yuri X still rode the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. After leaving the Ruishan branch, they rushed towards the Pingxi war zone. Along the way, Wang Ling had been observing the war zone, and the focus of his observation was the coalition base. Because of the alliance between the 2 armies, the coalition forces are also using the Allied forces' crack generators, and because they are wary of the super weapons of the Mind Empire, there are quite a few of these crack generators, almost covering most of the coalition forces. However, after all, the coalition base is too big. Soldiers patrol back and forth, and some people will always leave the range of the crack generator. After observing for a long time, Wang Ling saw a familiar figure in the gap and couldn't help but laugh. "Why are you laughing?" Yuri X was curious. Wang Ling didn't hide anything. "It's nothing, I just saw an old acquaintance in the target war zone." Old acquaintance. Hearing what he said, Yuri X's face suddenly turned ugly. Why did they leave Mater Newtown specifically a few days ago? It's not just because of old acquaintances. The remaining 3 bases were all related to Wang Ling. As a result, Wang Ling refused to listen to any orders and did not attack at all. In order to avoid any mistakes, Wang Ling was relocated as a last resort. However, he did not expect that the war zone he was about to arrive at would also have his old acquaintances. What is this thing called? After complaining silently in his heart, Yuri confused. "Do I need your advice on what I should do?" Wang Ling glared back, unwilling to be outdone, his attitude still tough, stubborn, perverse, and overbearing. Speaking of which, Yuri X was really frustrated. He thought that by bringing Wang Ling to the Ruishan branch and letting him be managed by the leader's clone, he would be able to relax and avoid Wang Ling's bullying. But he didn't expect that in the end, he would have to take Wang Ling to the battle himself, and he would have to suffer along the way. However, fortunately, he had spent a long time with the blackened Wang Ling. He was somewhat used to Wang Ling's domineering attitude, so he was not too upset. He just reminded him with a dark face, "You don't need my guidance, but it's okay, don't forget your current identity, you are a member of my spiritual empire, not the coalition camp." Cut. Wang Ling didn't care. After a few simple words, he closed his eyes and was too lazy to say more. The Pingxi war zone is far away from the Ruishan branch, but with the rapid speed of the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle, it took less than a day to arrive successfully, and stopped at a Yuri base at the forefront. Regardless of whether it is Yuri. It's easy to say that Yuri. As for Wang Ling, as the only person in the army who is exempted from saluting Yuri, his status is actually no less favorable than Yuri. The atmosphere was very strange. However, fortunately, no one provoked anything, and Wang Ling didn't bother to pay attention. The boat and carriage were tiring for a long time, but after arriving, the two of them didn't bother to rest at all. They immediately followed the commander of the base to the command post and listened to him describe the overall situation in the Pingxi war zone. "Our troops have advanced to this point and are about to successfully enter the city of Pingxi and establish a spiritual beacon. However, unexpectedly, they encountered an allied base blocking the way. Our army could not attack for a long time and quickly asked for help, but the allied base corresponding reinforcements have also arrived, and their combat effectiveness is very strong. Moreover, they seem to know our army's arms very well, and their targeted defenses have made it difficult for our army to break through, and the battle has gradually fallen into a stalemate." As he spoke, the commander also zoomed in on the electronic map, showing the electronic video state, pointing at 2 locations of one of the allied bases, and explained, "For the other 2 bases, there is no need to pass the military units and buildings. Pay more attention, only this allied base needs special attention. In this base, there are 2 giant cannons built, probably distributed in these 2 locations. When our troops were charging, they ate these too many cannons are a big loss, we have to guard against them." The overall situation in this war zone is actually simple to say. It is nothing more than the 2 sides attacking and defending each other. They are so stalemate that there is no way to tell the winner in a short period of time. However, the commander seemed to want to show off in front of Yuri. Finally, when he finished speaking, Yuri X turned to ask after thinking for a while, "Wang Ling, what do you think?" Wang Ling was a little disdainful, "You talk about a stalemate in the war. In my opinion, it's either a lack of firepower or poor tactics. There's no other reason." Snort. This sentence really made the commander angry. He glared at Wang Ling and began to sarcastically say, "It doesn't hurt to stand and talk. You don't know how fierce the resistance of these 3 bases is. It's said so easily. Do you think, with your strength, can you break this deadlock? Isn't it possible? Wang Ling asked playfully. However, before the commander could answer, Wang Ling turned around and walked out while saying, I'm new here. I'll give you a gift. 3 bases. Now I'll build one for you. Wang Ling, are you kidding, Yuri? Wang Ling did not answer, but Yuri X quickly caught up and asked, which allied base do you want to target? Unexpectedly, Wang Ling tilted his head and asked, Allied base? When did I say I was going to the Allied base? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 800. Not an allied base? Don't you want to destroy one of our bases? Yuri X was really shocked when he heard Wang Ling's words, and even blocked the entrance and exit of the command post. Based on his understanding of Wang Ling, it was simply impossible to expect him to deal with the coalition base. Since it is not an allied force or a coalition force, are there any other forces on the battlefield besides Yuri's base? The commander of this base questioned Wang Ling when he came up, but Wang Ling immediately offered to give him a meeting gift and set up a base. With Wang Ling's temperament, if he was dissatisfied with the commander's attitude, he might do such a ridiculous thing. Did you get kicked in the head by a donkey? I said we were going to attack our own base? Get out of the way and don't block the way. However, Wang Ling's answer was completely unexpected. He directly rejected his idea, grabbed the levitator with one hand, threw it aside, and walked away. Although he was treated so rudely by Wang Ling, Yuri, it's not the allies, it's not us, do you want to attack the allies? As soon as he finished speaking, Yuri X had already left the command post. But in the command post, the commander was stunned. What is going on? Is Wang Ling going to attack the coalition base directly? And he is so arrogant towards Master X, but Master X is not angry at all? Oh my god, what kind of world is this? After being stunned, the commander also became curious and hurriedly followed him out, wanting to see what Wang Ling wanted to do. As for Wang Ling, if he said he wanted to attack the coalition base, he couldn't rush there alone. He didn't sit idle after leaving the command post and started ordering troops directly. Among the troops he selected, he didn't even select an infantryman. They were all armored units. There were more than 10 laser UFOs, 4 mind control vehicles, 5 magneto-electric tanks, 10 tornado tanks and 10 gate tanks. Although the number of troops ordered sounds like a lot, when it comes to attacking a coalition base, the number of these troops is probably far from enough. With Wang Ling's current status in the Seoul Empire, he is qualified to directly order all troops no matter which war zone or base he arrives at, and Yuri's clone has indeed issued such orders to all war zones. Due to his previous status, some infantrymen might still be unconvinced, but the armored troops were not so stubborn. The troops who were called were quickly assembled. Yuri. The commander was also confused. Are you kidding me? Do you know how strong the firepower of the coalition base is? Of course, the infantrymen in the base also noticed such a large-scale troop dispatch. There were now many infantrymen surrounding them. After learning Wang Ling's purpose, they were surprised and pointed at them. Wang Ling smiled inexplicably and ignored the other infantry. Instead, he said to Yuri, gather at the designated location. Buzzing. The armored forces were very practical. After the order was given, they immediately started taking action. After the mind control vehicle also left the base, Wang Ling summoned the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle that was traveling there and got in. Yuri. The commander also wanted to go and have a look, but due to his status, it was inconvenient for him to just leave the base and go to the enemy base. To put it bluntly, he is not so relieved about Wang Ling. However, Wang Ling didn't care who followed him. After giving the order in the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle, he became leisurely. Looking at his leisurely look, Yuri, it's in line with your nature that you find reasons not to attack, but now that it's so abnormal, I can't understand it. Wang Ling rolled his eyes at him, half lying on his seat, and replied in a lazy tone, just because I have an old acquaintance, I have to come in person. I am already in the empire of the soul. All the things in the past can't stay forever. It drags me down. Once I take action, it's over once and for all. Yuri. The armored troops marched much faster than the infantry troops, and they arrived at the coalition base in less than 3 hours. On this coalition base, there are 3 large black areas covered with crack generators, and the internal conditions cannot be seen. However, at the edge of the black area, a large number of deployed armed helicopters and anti-aircraft crawlers can be vaguely seen. Wang Ling estimated the maximum range of the armed helicopter. After all the troops arrived, he gradually advanced a little further and did not stop until he was close to the maximum range of the armed helicopter. Then, under his command, the 2 laser UFOs broke away from the team and rushed forward. They flew in an arc in the air and circled back. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. When they flew to the forefront, the group of anti-aircraft tracked vehicles outside the coalition base suddenly opened fire. Under the powerful anti-aircraft firepower, a laser UFO was killed in a matter of seconds. The other laser UFO was unwilling to fight and hurriedly withdrew again. However, the group of anti-aircraft crawlers didn't seem to want to let it go. They were so angry at it that more than 10 anti-aircraft crawlers followed it and rushed out of the base, trying to chase down the laser UFO. Swish swish swish. However, this was Wang Ling's trick. After they rushed out, the 5 magneto-electric tanks immediately launched electromagnetic waves and attracted them from a long distance. The remaining anti-aircraft crawlers were all bombed by Wang Ling himself. Only the 5 anti-aircraft crawlers were specifically ordered not to fire. They were not suddenly controlled by the mind control vehicle until they landed. Emotional Wang Ling is fishing in this unique way. The troops in the Red Alert world, especially the air defense troops, have this habit of chasing the enemy's air force. Not to mention these troops, even Wang Ling's Wolf Group troops also have this habit, but now Wang Ling has catch it and catch the fish in a targeted manner. There were quite a few anti-aircraft crawlers in the coalition base, but Wang Ling was not in a hurry. He used this fishing method and tried several times, finally consuming all the anti-aircraft crawlers outside the base. Subsequently, the remaining laser UFOs advanced collectively and blasted the group of armed helicopters deployed on the periphery in the air. In this tricky way, they tore a hole in their peripheral defense line. However, Wang Ling's next move was beyond everyone's expectations. He did not send troops to attack in large numbers. Instead, he walked up leisurely alone, mustered up his strength, and shouted at the coalition base, "Where is Xia Tian? Old comrades, come out and reminisce about old times." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 801. Summer. Yes, on the way, Wang Ling said that there was an old acquaintance here, and this old acquaintance was Xia Tian. Wang Ling knew a lot of people in the world of Red Police, but when it came to acquaintances and brothers who had gone through life and death, there were not too many. In addition to the Wolf Group and Eagle Group of General Li Wiki's base, and the Dog Group of General Luo Er's base, there are also old comrades such as Xia Tian and Zhang Yang who fought with him on the decisive battlefield to kill the enemy. And when the war has reached this stage, these old comrades have gradually become memories. Except for the Wolf Group, the Dog Group, and the Eagle Group, the only one who survives now is Xia Tian. Even though Wang Ling turned black and was controlled by the Empire of Mind, he still clearly remembered those past friendships, so his purpose of attacking the coalition forces was very impure from the beginning. Reminiscing about the past. Wang Ling, what do you mean? Yuri X was very dissatisfied when he heard Wang Ling's shouting. He had been suspicious of Wang Ling since Wang Ling said he wanted to attack the coalition base. After all, this was really not Wang Ling's character. Unexpectedly, he guessed correctly. The purpose of Wang Ling coming here was not to destroy the coalition base at all. However, how could he control Wang Ling? After hearing his words, Wang Ling turned sideways, locked his cold eyes on Yuri X, and scolded coldly, "Shut up. If you dare to interfere with me again, you will die." At this moment, even though he was used to Wang Ling's dominance, Yuri X couldn't help but feel a chill running through his body. That cold gaze and tone really revealed a bit of murderous intent, which Yuri X was keenly aware of. Although Wang Ling was domineering before, he had never joked about life and death with Yuri X, but this time, Yuri X knew that if he dared to interfere again, Wang Ling would really kill him. In this state, Wang Ling didn't even dare to provoke Yuri X. He wisely shut his mouth and stopped talking. Of course, in addition to being full of fear in his heart, Yuri. After stopping Yuri. Wang Ling. I didn't expect that the person attacking the base this time would be you. As soon as the voice fell, Xia Tian's voice came from inside the coalition base, and then Xia slowly walked over from the depths of the base, followed by 4 apocalypse tanks, 6 anti-aircraft crawlers, and 4 SEALs. Team. Seeing this formation, Wang Ling smiled a little playfully. Are you so careful? Do you need special guards to protect you before you dare to come out? Xia Tian looked around and saw the traces of the battle by the armed helicopters, and couldn't help but sigh. Open the cave with guns and come to me to reminisce about the past. Can I be careless? But Wang Ling was a little disdainful. We blew up those armed helicopters just because they were too much in the way. If I really want to kill you or attack the coalition base, can you guards really stop me? Xia Tian fell silent, feeling a little mixed in his heart. Soon after, he took a deep breath and gave the order to the troops following behind to stop advancing, but he stepped forward alone. Team leader. Just as he was about to enter Wang Ling's shooting range, a soldier from behind suddenly shouted a warning. But now that Xia Tian had made up his mind, he was no longer afraid of anything. He casually stopped the people behind him and stepped into Wang Ling's shooting range. As expected, Wang Ling did not fire at him. For this reason, Yan Tian gained some confidence and continued to move forward. He almost came to Wang Ling and stopped more than 10 meters away. Ha ha ha. Watching Yan Tian's danger, Wang Ling laughed heartily. My lovely subordinates wanted to take me back before, and even dared to play tricks on me. How dare you come here alone, in front of me? As expected, none of my old comrades in arms, Wang Ling, is a coward. Listening to Wang Ling's praise, Xia Tian didn't feel happy at all. Instead, he frowned. Wang Ling, I have heard about you. So what? Wang Ling asked. Xia Tian stared into his eyes and said in a rather fierce tone, you are not to blame for what happened. The Empire of Mind designed you, but the Allies stabbed you in the back. I will take note of this grudge for you. Sooner or later, the Allies will look good. Haha, brother, I accept this kindness. However, I will avenge myself, so you don't have to worry about it. Wang Ling crossed his arms and smiled. Yan Tian pursed his lips and did not answer the question. Instead, he asked, can you come back? Wang Ling shook his head, feeling a little sad. I'm afraid, I can't go back. Now I am a warrior of the Soul Empire. When we meet on the battlefield, we are enemies. Enemies? Haha, how ironic, Xian Tian asked with a wry smile. Then what are we doing now? As an enemy, are you just knocking on my door just to catch up with me? At this point, Wang Ling also let out a rare sigh, and finally spoke up. On the one hand, on the other hand, I also want to make my position clear. Xia Tian, you are no match for me, leave this war zone. Not to mention that Xia Tian was shocked by the sentence, even Yuri X was confused for a while. What did Wang Ling mean? Before they could ask anything, Wang Ling continued, as a matter of position, we are already a hostile force, but I don't want to attack you, so leave. Wang Ling. Do you know what stupid things you are talking about? I am a soldier, and you want me to retreat in the face of battle? Yan Tian also became angry, and directly accused Wang Ling regardless of Wang Ling's pressure. But Wang Ling was not angry. Instead, he sighed and said, yeah, Yan Tian, don't be stupid. In 3 days at the latest, I will lead a large force to attack. You can't stop me. Why are you looking for death here? If you retreat before the battle, no, they must all be derogatory terms. I don't want all my old comrades to die in battle. Wang Ling, since you are still thinking about your old relationship, why don't you come back? Yan Tian really couldn't do anything to Wang Ling. His original fiery temper suddenly subsided, and there was a little loneliness in his tone. But Wang Ling replied, don't be stupid, it's a matter of position. Even if I don't like the Soul Empire, I will stay here. Just like you, as a soldier of the coalition, how can you easily betray the coalition? Yan Tian, I don't want to. It makes things difficult for you, but don't make things difficult for me either. At this point, Wang Ling took another deep breath, and his tone was somewhat decisive. In addition, Yan Tian, help me bring a message to the coalition forces. When you see me on the battlefield in the future, stay away and there will be no fighting. This is me, the last thing you can do for the coalition forces, don't let me down. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 802. If you stay away, there will be no war. Hearing Wang Ling's promise, Xia Tian's heart was filled with emotions. However, while he was muttering to himself, Wang Ling had already turned around and gradually left. Looking at Wang Ling's back, Yan Tian couldn't help but feel angry, and shouted, Wang Ling! Are you pitying us? Whatever you think, I've finished my words. I don't want to point my gun at you, don't make things difficult for me. Wang Ling didn't look back, turned his back to him, waved his hand, and passed Yuri, and got into the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle. Yuri. After sitting firmly, the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle set off directly to return, and other attacking Yuri armored units also embarked on the return journey. The so-called attack felt quite anticlimactic. Team leader. After Yuri's troops walked away, Xia Tian's subordinates rushed forward and started asking questions. Team leader, what does Wang Ling mean? Is it just to say these words that he called so aggressively and tore through the defense line at our entrance? Actually, he scared me quite a bit. I thought he didn't care about old friendship at all and really wanted to kill us all. But I didn't expect that he would just leave like that. He seems to want us to leave here? Is he deliberately putting pressure on us? Subduing the enemy without a fight. Wherever he is, there will be no fighting. What is his idea? Does he not want to start a war with us, or is he deliberately making fun of us? After all, Wang Ling's attitude was too strange and too alienating, and a group of soldiers were confused. Yan Tian looked at the direction Wang Ling was leaving and let out a sigh of relief. Wang Ling, he has changed a lot, so much that he is a bit strange to me. However, when facing him, I feel very familiar. He still has the original characteristics. He has a personality that reminds us of old feelings. Whether he wants us to leave the war zone or retreat, he doesn't want to start a war with us. However, he is controlled by the empire of mind and has a hostile stance, so he has to choose this threatening method to avoid fighting with us. War. But team leader, this is war. He can't avoid it if he wants to. If we leave, will the allies be able to hold on? Then a team leader retorted. Xia Tian said sarcastically, with Wang Ling here, even if we stay here, can we defend it? You saw it when he attacked. He cleverly destroyed our anti-aircraft crawlers and armed helicopters. Facing the what are our chances of winning against such a powerful enemy? But do we really want to listen to him and give up here? I don't have the right to make a decision on this. I'd better tell the general everything that happened and ask him to make a decision. Wang Ling, I thought you brought troops to the coalition base to destroy it, but I didn't expect it was just to reminisce and warn. On the way back, Yuri X stared at Wang Ling with some dissatisfaction in his tone. But Wang Ling looked like an old god was here. Is it weird? The more this attitude he showed, the angrier Yuri. He just said a few words and then retreated. Yuri. However, Wang Ling seemed to have forgotten what he had done personally. He just glanced at Yuri X casually and said, "A few words are not enough? We don't need to worry about this coalition base. They will leave before the war starts. This war zone, and even the entire coalition forces, will definitely stay away from me in future battles as long as I am around." Are you so sure? Just a few words from you. Yuri X obviously still didn't believe it. But Wang Ling leaned on the backrest and closed his eyes. Yes, I don't want to fight against the coalition forces, and the coalition forces don't want to fight against me, so they have to consider my words. Don't want to take action? Wang Ling, this is a war. The coalition forces are also a major force that prevents my Soul Empire from controlling the world. Sooner or later, we will have to fight. If you run away, you will encounter it. Yuri X squinted his eyes and warned. Got up. Wang Ling, however, didn't care. We'll talk about the future matters later. If it comes to a life and death battle, I will take action, so you don't need to worry about this. I hope you can remember your identity by then. Yuri X had nothing to say to him and closed his eyes angrily. The anti-aircraft tracked vehicle was extremely fast. While other armored units were still on their way back, this tracked vehicle carried Wang Ling and Yuri X and took the lead back to the base. After getting off the car, Yuri X immediately boarded the hoverboard with no expression on his face, while Wang Ling stretched idly. Seeing them like this, the base commander was a little confused. Didn't you say you were going to settle that base? Why are you back now? The base is still there, and it seems like you went to chat. Wang Ling smiled calmly. Don't worry, that base will be evacuated before the general attack. Real? The commander was obviously not convinced yet, but Wang Ling was too lazy to talk to him anymore, turned around and left. After hitting a soft nail, the commander's face became particularly ugly, and he turned to ask Yuri X again. However, Yuri, a commander full of questions. As the leader of the base, the commander should have been the highest authority in the base. However, unexpectedly, Yuri. No matter what, since Wang Ling has promised, the commander can only hold back and wait and see. In fact, it was exactly what Wang Ling said. He did not want to go to war with the coalition forces, and the coalition forces did not want to exchange fire with him. During the confrontation, Wang Ling's request was quickly conveyed to the general headquarters by the coalition base commander. PoortoRich. Although the chance that Wang Ling could get it back was very slim, PoortoRich obviously didn't give up completely. After receiving this news, instead of being angry, he sighed that Wang Ling still missed his old relationship after all. So, PoortoRich simply gave Wang Ling the favor and went down the slope. As a result, the next day, the coalition base where Xia Tian was located quickly dismantled all the buildings except the command post, moved everyone, and left. After entering the Pingxi war zone, the other two allied bases were confused. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 803. Hey, Allied forces, what's going on with you? The enemy is in front of you, Why do you retreat without fighting? Alliance forces, you are unjust. Seeing the coalition bases being dismantled and beginning to retreat, the commanders of the two coalition bases became anxious and shouted over the radio. They couldn't help but be in a hurry. Under the joint state, the coalition forces were providing power to the Allied forces. Although the Allied forces suffered a huge loss last time when the power was completely cut off, the Allied forces also built a lot of power plants, which can operate normally without the power of nuclear reactors, but after all, the power aspect is still somewhat stretched, and they are used to unscrupulous using electricity. The Allies were quite uncomfortable with this situation. What's more, now that Wang Ling has come to the battlefield and the enemy is in front of him, the Allies also have a strong sense of self-danger. The coalition forces have escaped at this time. How can they not be anxious? But the commander of the coalition base was very single. We don't want to fight Wang Ling. Wang Ling. It's because of Wang Ling again. Coalition forces, how long will you have to fight against him before you give up? Allied forces, is this the time to worry about that? Can you think about the overall situation? This answer made the two Allied commanders very angry and accused them repeatedly. But the coalition commander's answer was even sharper. Look at the overall situation. Haha, who doesn't have the overall situation? Who pushed Wang Ling to the Seoul Empire? The two Allied commanders were suddenly speechless. The Allied forces have been stuck with this matter for too long, and many people are tired of it. But the Allied forces have completely failed to deal with this matter. The Allied forces commander mentioned it again, and the two Allied forces commanders also felt very depressed. Chew. You have to bear the trouble you have caused. We are no match for Wang Ling, so why stay here to wait for death? Not only us, I also advise you to retreat in advance, so that you can keep the green hills and don't worry about running out of firewood. The Allied commander said something again. His tone was either angry or sarcastic. The two Allied commanders were very angry, but they could not be contacted again. The Allied commander had cut off the radio, and the entire army embarked on the journey. On the way to retreat. Watching the coalition forces withdraw, the two Allied bases were in chaos, yelling at the coalition forces, and the two commanders also felt a headache. After discussion, they hurriedly reported the matter to General Bob. After hearing this, General Bob was also filled with anger, but because of Wang Ling, he could not vent his anger to the coalition forces. However, after feeling annoyed and looking at the corner of the electronic map, General Bob showed a sinister smile. You continue to be stationed there, and I will provide you with assistance. Since the coalition forces have been making trouble with Wang Ling, then we will take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of Wang Ling. Oh my God, I really retreated. There were serious internal differences between the coalition forces, but the Yuri base was quite lively. Looking at the retreating coalition forces on the electronic map, the faces of the three commanders were full of surprise. Even the commander of Wang Ling's base came to Wang Ling and asked, "What on earth did you say to them to retreat so obediently?" Wang Ling smiled very casually, "It's nothing, it's just a threat. When you see me in the future, you will stay away and not attack." "Is this okay?" The commander seemed a little doubtful. But Wang Ling did not explain too much, just said, "Without the interference of the coalition forces, is it not easy for the remaining two coalition bases? Inform the other two bases to gather troops as soon as possible. In 2 days, I will personally lead the troops to destroy them. Kill these two bases." "Good." The commander was overjoyed and responded quickly. And Yuri X has been looking at the retreating coalition troops, frowning slightly, and he doesn't know what he is thinking. In any case, because of Wang Ling, the coalition forces have now retreated. There are only 2 Allied bases left in the Pingxi war zone. And with Wang Ling's powerful combat power, this war is already easier than before. Many The three Yuri bases, taking advantage of this opportunity, are all vigorously stationing troops, building various armored units as quickly as possible, trying to launch a general offensive in 2 days. During this period, Wang Ling had no other tasks besides observing the Allied base. According to the development of Wang Ling's script, a general attack will be completed 2 days later, and the Pingxi war zone should be almost settled. However, something unexpected happened in this matter. Logically speaking, the Allied forces should be preparing to defend with all their strength at this stage to deal with Wang Ling's threat. However, on the second day after the coalition bases withdrew, the two Allied bases suddenly sent a large number of troops and rushed there in a hurry. He headed towards the Yuri base where Wang Ling was located, as if he wanted to take advantage of the situation and destroy the base. Wang Ling looked at their momentum and was a little confused. What's going on? Are you so anxious to come here and die before we even launch the general attack? Prepare to defend. However, the commander didn't think so much. Seeing the enemy coming, he naturally ordered the troops to launch a defensive posture. But unexpectedly, these two large groups of Allied troops did not directly attack Yuri base. Instead, they stopped outside Yuri base, deployed, and surrounded them without attacking. What's happening here? Wang Ling was a little confused for a while, but there was bound to be a monster when something went wrong. He did not rush to lead a counterattack. Instead, he observed these Allied troops, as if he wanted to find something fishy. However, this group of Allied troops was just stationed, but did not make any other movements, and nothing could be seen for a while. Under confusion, Wang Ling carefully checked the electronic video and the electronic map. When he subconsciously pulled to the corner of the electronic map, his color suddenly changed. Damn it! Attention, the entire army, keep enough distance between each other and reduce the density of soldiers and tanks. The lightning storm is coming. In anxiety, Wang Ling hurriedly stepped over and issued a dispersal order to the entire army on behalf of the commander. Order? Isn't it? What Wang Ling observed on the electronic map was the countdown to the Allied superweapon lightning storm. It was less than a minute away from now. The arrival of the era of superweapons has indeed intensified the cruelty of war. Every time a superweapon is ready and released, the bases of hostile forces will tremble with fear. This was the case when Wang Ling was at the coalition base before. However, after all, there is interference from the crack generator at the Allied base, and Yuri designed Wang Ling. It is impossible to deliver the super weapon to Wang Ling's base. The threat to Wang Ling from super weapons has always been very small. In addition, during the period of being controlled, he had not been threatened by super weapons. This became a natural habit, and Wang Ling subconsciously ignored the threat of super weapons for a while. But now and then, now he has joined the battlefield as the sole empire, posing a huge threat to the Allies. With the temperament of the Allies, will they be soft on him? The lightning storm is about to be ready, and this group of Allied troops has also assembled outside the base. The release location of the super weapon is already very clear. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 804. Lightning Storm. Upon hearing this word, all the soldiers in the base were shocked. Unlike Wang Ling, this group of soldiers can always fight on the front line. Every time the enemy's super weapon is ready, they have to be on tenterhooks. However, there are too many Yuri bases in all war zones, and this super weapon may hit somewhere, so every time they face a super weapon, this group of people always takes a chance. It's like 100 people lined up in a row, and only one of them gets shot, so the probability of hitting him is very small. But now, according to what Wang Ling said, this lightning storm seems to have locked onto the base, and the muzzle of the gun is pointed at your head. Is this not scary? In a hurry, many infantrymen in the base hurriedly ran around, and all the tanks were dispersed as much as possible. The entire base suddenly felt like a commotion. After all, They have seen the power of lightning storm more than once from electronic videos. No one can stop this brilliant power. If it is really hit, there will be absolutely no way to survive. No matter how strong Wang Ling's vitality is now, he can't resist such heavenly power. When the soldiers were commotion, he also hurriedly took action and quickly arrived at an open field. Come on, don't get so close. Damn it, you're blind, where are you going? Don't stand here, get out of here, my place. The commotion continued. In order to resist this lightning storm, many infantrymen were spreading. It was a lively scene, and unpleasant shouts and curses could be heard almost everywhere. However, riots also have the effect of riots. All soldiers acted quickly, and the overall density was gradually shrinking. Even the peripheral infantry broke out of the base directly. Of course, under the lightning storm, these are not enough, and they need to continue to spread. However, the lightning storm did not give them so much time at all. When it spread to this point, the countdown was over. And just as Wang Ling guessed, this lightning storm was really aimed at Wang Ling. It was released almost as soon as it was ready. The words "lightning storm is coming" were immediately displayed in the corner of the electronic map. Rumble. Rumble. Not long after, a large black thundercloud suddenly appeared in the sky above the base, as if it was carrying powerful energy that could destroy the world. Dong dong. Dong dong. Seeing these thunder clouds, Wang Ling became nervous and his heartbeat accelerated rapidly. In the past, before he was out of control, Wang Ling would even feel a little excited, shocked, and even gloating when he saw this black thunder cloud. But now that this thing is forming on top of his head, how can he be excited? Click. Click. Not long after the black thunder cloud formed, the thunder was already brewing, and two thick thunderbolts struck down one after another, striking into two groups of soldiers respectively. Wow! Oh! A lively scene has come. Although this group of soldiers has tried to reduce the density as much as possible, it is obvious that the current distance is not up to standard. When lightning strikes, even if it does not hit the front, under the powerful step voltage, within a radius of dozens of all the infantrymen in Mina received a strong electric shock for a moment and died unexpectedly. Click. Click. Then, two more thunderbolts struck, one blasted a biochemical reactor, and the other struck into the tank unit, instantly destroying two magneto-electric tanks and seriously injuring four jet tanks. Kaka. Kaka. And these few lightning bolts were just appetizers in the terrifying lightning storm. The subsequent shocking thunder struck down at a faster rate than before, killing everything in the base without restraint. Click. In this base, Wang Ling was not completely immune. Even though he had tried his best to hide in the open space, not long after the thunder and lightning struck, there was a lightning strike that fell on the open space more than 10 meters away from him. In an instant, under the strong voltage, even Wang Ling, who was more than 10 meters away, felt a strong electric shock. His whole body was numb for a moment, and after the numbness passed, there was a strong pain. Fortunately, Wang Ling's physique was abnormal enough. The aftermath of the lightning did not cause much damage to him. He quickly recovered and gritted his teeth and said, "No, I can't stay outside all the time. I can't tell which lightning struck me, you have to hit me right on the head." At this moment, Wang Ling's mind flashed with lightning, and he subconsciously wanted to hide in the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle. But the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle closest to him was exploded in front of him. Having no other choice, Wang Ling gritted his teeth, turned his head and stared at the command post, then risked the bombardment of the lightning storm and charged forward. Click. Click. Kaka. Boom. 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 The lightning storm was still raging, with shocking thunders that devastated the entire base. A large number of infantrymen died tragically, and a large number of tanks and buildings were damaged. Later, he seemed to notice the fast-moving Wang Ling. 3 lightning bolts struck down from the black thunder cloud, all of which hit Wang Ling's side. The strong voltage caused Wang Ling to suffer. However, Wang Ling did not dare to slow down, endured the pain, quickly came to the command post, and dived in. The power of lightning storm is very strong, but the HP of the command post is also enough. Unless this lightning storm can intelligently control the direction of lightning, it will not be able to blow it up in one go with just this random bombardment. Command post. After getting into the command post, Wang Ling was safe, but now, because he had been affected by voltage several times in succession, he actually felt a little bit disgraced and very embarrassed. Arriving at the command hall, the commander, 2 deputies, and even Yuri X stayed here, looking at Wang Ling in surprise. Yuri. Humph, I disappoint you. Wang Ling refused to give in, patted the ashes on his body, and joked in turn, it's you are such a thief. Why didn't I see you outside? I thought you were already there. I was struck to death by lightning, and I was planning to have a good time, but I didn't expect you to be hiding in the command post. Yuri X couldn't defeat Wang Ling. After hearing this, his expression immediately became strange. Wang Ling didn't quarrel with him too much. He crossed over Yuri. On the road to death, we are really going further and further. Since you didn't chop me to death, then just wash my neck and wait. Kaka. Click. Lightning storm could not hear his words. Now it has come to an end. With the last few bolts of lightning falling, killing more than 10 infantrymen and blasting the tank factory, this thrilling super weapon has finally come to an end.